Hello, I'm Frank Mosier with the New Jersey chapter of the National Wrestling Hall of Fame. This afternoon, we're going to visit with Stephen John Jastrabek, our 2017 Outstanding American for the National Wrestling Hall of Fame. Stephen, let's get right to it. I just want to know, how'd you get here for this award?
Well, it was a long road, Frank, but I always wanted to give back to the sport of wrestling. I always believed that the sport of wrestling was the best sport for a kid to take on. The commitment, the courage that it takes in the sport of wrestling. When you're young, old, doesn't matter what grade school you're in. It's a very tough sport. You learn how to win. You learn how to lose. You learn how to make better decisions from that loss, as in life. And I think it was one's self-confidence through life from the sport of wrestling is paramount. And for me, and I'm sure for many others, it's an absolute blueprint on how to live your life and conduct your life.
You know, Stephen, we all understand the big ups and downs and the knockdowns you get in wrestling. I'd be curious if you just might want to talk about one of the good or one of the tougher times for you in wrestling.
Well, one of the good times was when I was wrestling a match. Was Lenape Valley in high school, Lenape Valley against Pope John, and it was for the SCIL title. And I was on the mat, and there was about 4,000 people there, and the guy was biting me through the match, and the referee wasn't doing anything about it. And my father, who was a commercial construction guy, he owned a Claremont Construction, a large firm, and he didn't take too much, you know what, Frank. And when I was wrestling, I turned around, and he was on the mat attacking the referee. That was a good moment for me. And then me and Policino went fisticuffs, so it was a real brawl. So that was a great moment for me.
Well, now, there are great moments in wrestling, and this award is not about your wrestling win or loss record. This one is about the leadership side of wrestling. So I'm curious, you didn't go into coaching, you didn't go into officiating, and you're winning this award because of leadership. What caused you to take that path?
Well, I think I was, even though I had a very good career, I think I was, as a lot of us are, I was sort of dissatisfied with how it ended up. I only wrestled a couple years at Clarion, even I did well. I did a lot of freestyle, a year of freestyle, but it just didn't end up the way I wanted to. So I was bitter, you could say. Then I went in, I had to really find myself. Just like you said, I wasn't going to be a coach. I wasn't going to open up a clinic. I wasn't going to be a teacher. So I had to find really what I wanted to do for a living. And ever since I was a kid, I used to do some hairstyling. And so I got into the hair business and opened up some salons and found my feet and found my way there. And then, then wrestling came calling again. And I realized that a lot of the stuff that I was doing and was all still wrapped around wrestling. I was still training every day like I am now. Still training. Frank, I'm still waiting for that next match. I don't think it's coming, but so I decided to start to give back to the sport of wrestling.
Well, now, my understanding is running a salon's not the easiest job in the world either.
No, I had a lot of wrestling matches there, too. It was very, very difficult.
We're going to leave that on the table here for a minute, and let's just get into another side of this leadership. So you combined your leadership interest with the sport of wrestling, which obviously those who know you and your reputation with wrestling and in the area know that you do a lot of fundraising and you're in the development side. Can you talk about that just a little bit here?
Yeah, sure. I had a salon in Mendham, and in 1999 I was sort of proud what I was doing in the salon industry, and sort of found myself somewhat in my career. And I decided that I made a decision to, maybe have a fundraiser at the salon for the 2000 Olympics in Sydney. I contacted USA Wrestling, and and I raised money for them. I was instrumental in trying to help the team for that 2000 games. It snowballed. I opened another salon. And then in 2003, I came up with an idea to because of the area that I was in Burnsville, New Jersey, this whole fundraising thing was big on everybody's agenda. So I called USA Wrestling again and, came up with a plan to to give back to the sport of wrestling, to raise money for the Olympic team and kids' individual USA Wrestling efforts. And that snowballed, and we raised, over $1 million over 10 years. Then, of course, everybody knows you were bugging me. You were part of all that, helping me fundraise through those years. And then the Hall of Fame state chapter came calling, and I got on your board in 2007. Worked my way up the ladder. Instrumental in helping me become president. Then we raised a lot of money, and now we're moving on to the Board of Governors out at National, Frank.
Well, let's just talk about that for a second. So in your future, you're going to stick with the fundraising and development side of the wrestling sport, and you progressed from the state of New Jersey. Now you're going to head up a front from the national or with the national organization. Can you just talk about that just for a second?
Yeah, I was appointed to the Board of Governors this past year, and we're really trying to get into some development. We have the endowment fund, we have operating revenue costs, and we're looking to raise a significant amount of money over the next 10 years. It's a 10-year plan. It's a 5-year plan and a 10-year plan. We're looking to raise $10 million over 10 years to supply the endowment that can ensure the running of the National Wrestling Hall of Fame at the museum itself out in Stillwater. So I'm going to be a part of that program and that effort.
Oh, that's great. That's absolutely great. And we need that kind of leadership. It sure is great to have someone from New Jersey on that national board out in Oklahoma. Let's leave all that wrestling mechanical stuff alone here for a second. How about the people in your background? Let's talk about that.
Well, I'd be remiss, through my wrestling career, not to thank, of course, the most important throughout is the coaches and then my family and everybody. And I went to Branchville. I wrestled for Branchville Wrestling, and I mean that set it up for me. In 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, I wrestled varsity, and coming out of there as state champ in 8th grade, that was my mindset. Was set in 8th grade when I beat Catalfo in the state finals, and 8 years later he was on the Olympic team. So so the coaches, Dave Thomas, Mickey Thomas, and Johnny Gardner, Billy Gardner, and Freddie Batali were very instrumental for me. And then moving on to Pope John, of course, Dennis Canallen, and Doug Durling. And my freshman year, Dale Kobler, which like in the top 10 in that my freshman year there with Huey Albora and those guys on that team, and Teddy Hawk. Then moving on, the most influential coach that I had was when I went to Blair Academy for a postgraduate year, and that was Mr. Tom Hutchison. Thank you, Hutch, for everything he did for me. Then moving on, of course, I was a bit rambunctious in those days, and they matched me up with Bob Bubb out in Clarion, and that was a mix, Frank.
A challenge, too.
Bob, he was pretty straight, man. So, and Jack Davis. And then my freestyle coach for a year, which I won a Senior Open Freestyle Championship, Roger Holden, was very instrumental for me. So those were the coaches and the teams that I always have to give thanks to. And I getting back to the philanthropic development edge that we were just talking about, I need just 3 people that were very important in helping me shape everything, and that was Mr. Doug Kimmelman, Larry Nugent, and Harry Colafinas from USA Wrestling Development Department. I've learned a lot from them over the years, and I'm very thankful and grateful to them for their support and their help.
And not only that kind of support goes both ways, though. In the sport of wrestling, no matter what part of it you're into, whether it's the competition or the leadership side, I think we've been blessed with a lot of leadership and good people in the sport of wrestling. Would you agree?
Yeah, we have it. We have been blessed. There are many, many heroes out there, Frank.
Yeah, absolutely. And now your future looks like what?
Yeah, it appears that I'm going to get out. It's my 25th year in the salon, so it looks like I'm going to sell the salon, I believe, and I'm going to get in full time into development work. If I have a plan, it's probably 3 more Olympic Games. Finish it up in L.A. 11 years from now. So we have 3 more Olympics, so it's 11 years. Maybe I'll go hard at this development for the next 11 years and. Then I'll come down and live with you down in Maryland there in the mansion, Frank.
Listen, got just a couple minutes here left, and I'm going to let you say whatever you want to say about the sport of wrestling or Stephen Jastrabek.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to finish with, the most important things, which is my family. Mom, thank you very much for everything you've given and done for me and my sister. And happy birthday, Ma. It's her birthday today, Frank.
Great.
Dad, thank you very much. I know you had your hands full with me. It was a tough one, but thank you. Sorry. Thank you. My sister, Diane Friccione, and her husband, Joey Friccione. Diane and Joey Friccione from Lodi. What do you think, Frank?
I'm nervous.
Yeah, me too. Thank you, Diane. You are a great sister. And, of course, I need to thank, and I want to thank my lovely wife, Dr. Linda Jastrabek, for everything you've done and given for me. Thank you very much.
Stephen, on behalf of the New Jersey chapter of the National Wrestling Hall of Fame, we want to congratulate you. Enjoy your day. You deserve it. And best wishes for the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Frank.